124.8 million for provision of strategic leadership, management and support service, 92.2 million to support the development of elite athletes, 9.7 million towards the regulation and management of the provision of sport and recreation facilities. My colleague, Deputy Minister Gert Oosthuizen, will later share with this Honourable House our plans and allocation regarding Programme 1, administration, as well as other specific sub-programs under various programme areas. It must be noted that this budget allocation will only fund a smaller portion of the approved National Recreation Plan. In order to implement the National Sports and Recreation Plan, an estimated budget of 10 billion per annum is required over the next 3 years. Due to other competing priorities and pressures on our national treasury, there is currently no space for additional funding. We are, however, encouraged by the space and support which we continue to receive from our government to ensure sport and recreation thrives. We implore all potential partners, particularly the private sector, to join hands with us in the implementation of National Sports and Recreation Plan. Today, we meet at the time when the nation mourns the untimely departure of our struggle stalwart, former MP, Ambassador and Mayor Ruth Sekgomotsi Mompati. As the sports and recreation sector, we dip our banners and salute this gallant fighter for a selfless contribution towards our democracy. As we do so, we remember also those from our own ranks of sport who left us in recent times. We remember our recipient of the Steve Tshwete Lifetime Achievement Award and the Order of Ikamanga in Gold, Dr. Steve Kalamazoo Mukoni. We remember also Joel Magolego Senzo Meiwa Mbulaweni Mlautsi, Pindile Mwelase, Tinas Line, Shakes, Kasi Flavor, Kungwani, John Shoes Mshwewu, and many others. On the other hand, we also meet at a time when love and peace is in the air, as the football nation still celebrate the league title of Amakosi Amahle. Congratulations, Abafana Bokuthula Noxolo. Congratulations also to one of Mzansi's most decorated and prolific defenders and Kaizer Chiefs captain, Tefu Mashamaite, for the multiple categories he won at the PSL Awards. Tefu Mashamaite, you are truly a well-rounded footballer, a disciplined leader, and a role model to the multitudes of young people out there. We recognize and appreciate also the outstanding achievements of our cricket captain and the world's best batsman, A.B. de Villiers. We are inspired by the ever-rising performance of our athletes as they smash records after records in international and local competition. The recent performance of Anaso Chobotwana, who broke South Africa's 200-meter record, the performance of Stephen Mukoka, who broke the South Africa's 5,000-meter record, and the performance of Anemi Smith, who improved her own South African record in women's hammer throw, are testimony to the fact that our preparation for Rio 2016 are well on track. As we set the scene and prepare to host the 10th edition of the SA Sport Awards, we are proud that we do so in the year when the reigning sports star of the year is a woman. The prolific striker of Banyana Banyana, Portia Modise. Following an impeccable international career, punctuated by unparalleled accomplishments, Portia has now announced her retirement. We congratulate her and assure her of our continued support as our sports star. She has served us all and has served us well. More than 113 caps and 100 goals is not a child's play. It is testimony of ultimate sacrifice and supreme dedication to national pride, patriotism par excellence. In this year, G-Sport Awards will also be celebrating 10th anniversary. Over the years, G-Sport has dedicated itself to raise the profile of South African women in sport and, most importantly, to encourage corporate South Africa to back female athletes. In his State of the Nation address, President Zuma urged all South Africans to rally behind our national teams. Would like to echo these words by the President and implore all South Africans to wear their national colors or team colors root support of our national teams in the sporting battlefield as they compete in the different international competitions. Team South Africa will participate in the Africa Games in Brazzaville, Congo on 4 to 19 September 2015. The Protea netball team, which is among us here and our guest, will participate in the Netball World Cup in Sydney, Australia in August on 7 to 16 August 2015. We are saying Bathathe mantombazana, wathinta abafazi, wathinta imbokodo, uzakufa, finish and klar. The Springboks will participate in the IRB World Cup that takes place in England on 18 September to 31st October 2015. The Springboks have won us the accolades before, and they are with us today also in the gallery as our guest. And we say, Gaan mos and makele lekker daarbij die World Cup. And we say, go boys and represent South Africa and forward ever, back never, go Bokke. We take this opportunity to also say good luck to all the runners who will be taking part in the 90th Comrades Marathon on the 31st May. To all 23,000 participants, we say you have trained hard to make it to that starting line. Whether you arrive 11 a.m. or 5 p.m. at Pietermaritzburg, enjoy the race and cross that finishing line with pride. Emanating from our engagement with the public broadcaster, we have now ensured that boxing returns to our television screens and radio. Boxing is a popular sport with a deep-rooted history, a history of triumph over adversity, a heritage that South Africa is proud of. The key idea in the delivery of boxing is to recognize amateur, professional, and development boxing across genders. The first tournament will now be broadcast on SABC 1 at the beginning of June 2015. This initiative will strengthen our boxing turnaround strategy due to increased visibility that will safeguard the return of the sponsors to the sport. Further to our support to the sport of boxing, we have also set aside 10 million towards development of amateur boxing this year. We will also sign a working relationship with the National Defence Force to implement what we call Operation Victory Lab. As a result, South African National Amateur Boxing will receive a once-off allocation as part of being chosen as the Federation of the Year. This move will assist to unearth talent that will increase the pool of young boxers who can represent the country at international competitions. Our support towards development of basketball and netball in South Africa is yielding serious results. The Netball Brutal Fruit League and the National Basketball League are growing in stature. Our wish is to see these leagues attracting more support so that one day the athletes participating in them can be full-time professionals. Transformation in sport remains an emotive issue, to which many people have attached various interpretations. Imposing quotas was not seen as a way to speed up the process, but this has clearly not worked on a sustainable basis. Change has to take place from the ground up, and that means it has to start at school and club level. We need to pay particular attention to issues of equity, equality, excellence, access, organizational structure, and good corporate governance. The thread that remains integrally linked to all of this is development. There can be no transformation without development. It is for that reason that our thematic approach to this budget statement is transformation and development. In line with the National Sports and Recreation Plan, a pilot transformation audit was conducted on the big 5 national federations, namely rugby, cricket, football, netball, and athletics, and the results were published in 2014. Following this successful pilot, further national federations were subjected to a transformation review to monitor progress, and other transformation barometer was published in March 2015 detailing the findings of this review. The federations that were assessed include all those that are identified as the school sport priority federations. This is to ensure that as financial assistance is directed at them, they also reciprocate. Because of the importance of transformation for the future of South African sport, this is an area on which we dare not fail. Internal capacity will be empowered during 2015 to assist National Federation to implement the Charter and to accurately complete the scorecard. Federations and sports bodies that fail to meet defined and stated targets will be named and shamed, encouraged to meet these targets. We believe federations should have key focus on school sport as a starting point towards the long-term journey of sustainable, transformed sporting codes. Chairperson, we present this budget statement with renewed vigor and verve. This is because we do so against the backdrop of a clean audit finding expressed by the Auditor General on our 2013-2014 annual report. To properly elucidate this point and contextualize our upbeat, we borrow an extract from an article of the 20 September 2012 by the South African Institute for Chartered Accountants. I quote, "Many people are familiar with the terms qualified and unqualified opinions on audit. This refers to an opinion expressed by auditors on the financial statements of entities. Unlike private sector audits, the Auditor General's audit scope is much broader. Besides the audit of financial statements, it also covers reporting to performance against predetermined objectives as well, compliance with laws and regulations. In the South African public sector audit context, an entity needs to be unqualified in all the audit areas mentioned above in order to obtain a clean audit," close quote. In this context, the overall overarching understanding by the South African government and the Office of the Auditor General of South Africa, a clean audit means an unqualified audit opinion without no matters of emphasis. This is what this department has achieved. School sport. School sport remains our only viable and currently structured mechanism through which to truly address issues of development in sport. To that end, we are committed to maximize access to sport recreation and physical activity in every school in South Africa. The third edition of the South African School Sport Championship, staged in 10 to 15 December 2014, saw participants from provincial school teams taking part in 14 different sporting codes, including learners with disabilities. This national championship has increased opportunities for learners from all schools to participate in an integrated national multi-coded sport event. More than 11,205 participants took part in the 14 sporting codes which form part of this national championship. Most of these learners are mostly from previously disadvantaged communities where they had very little or even no opportunities to participate in sports. Of course, the success of our school sport program requires well-oiled, motivated, and capacitated machinery. By end 2014-2015, we trained 2,770 educators throughout the provinces, utilizing the mass participation conditional grant. These educators, together with the 254 school sport coordinators we have employed through the conditional grant allocation, will serve as force multipliers for school sport implementation. A total of 726 schools have also been allocated sport equipment and attire as part of our rolling intervention to capacitate a specific number of schools on an annual basis. As part of the many exit opportunities from the school sport program, ministerial sports bursary is provided to selected learners from grade 8 until they complete their high school education. New recruits were identified during the 2014 National School Sport Championship to join those already on the program. At the moment, the department has already exceeded its target of 40 athletes supported each year at an amount of up to 100,000 per learner. We will also partner with SASCOC on the rollout of talent tracking system, ensure that the athletes who succeed at the national competition level are supported to develop into elite athletes. As SASCOC is the implementation agency in this area, the role of government is to ensure that systems are in place from district to provincial to ensure a flow of talent to the national level. Siyaqhuba. A network of club structures integrated into provincial and national sports structures, spanning urban and rural areas across the country, forms the basis of sports provision in any sports system. There can be no viable and accessible community sport without well-run, accessible club systems. In the previous financial year, we piloted the new club franchise model in KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo. Through the club development allocation of mass participation grant, over 578 clubs received support in the form of equipment and attire, while more than 106 clubs received support in terms of staging tournaments and leagues. Over 3,410 individuals from different sporting codes were trained on club development in sport-specific areas such as technical, officiating, administration, and coaching. In this financial year, we shall continue to consolidate this process and use the new club system as a change agent for transformation and development. Through our various sport promotion campaigns and events that were implemented in the 2014-15 financial year, more than 30,000 had access to sport and recreation. In this financial year, we have set aside 4.3 M to consolidate and strengthen our key community sport programs like youth camps, the Big Walk, Golden Games, and Rumlangeni Golf Development Program. Working with South Cork, the Free State Provincial Government, and through contribution from all provincial departments of sports and recreation, we have set aside an amount of 26 million per annum over the MTEF period to strengthen National Training Center based in the Free State Sports Science Institute. This National Training Center is an Olympic preparatory center for Team South Africa and one of the 3 components of the National Academy system for elite and high performance sport. It prepares national teams and athletes with regard to scientific, medical, and specific support. Once finalized, the National Training Center will be a major game changer in our elite athlete support intervention. Vision 2030, as articulated in the sports plan, places responsibility on South African athletes and sport administrators to strive for excellence at all ethical costs and attain dominance and supremacy in whatever platforms they perform and compete at. To complement these pockets of excellence and stimulate a culture of optimum achievement, the department will continue with its various recognition and reward programs. Key among these will be the introduction of the Sport Hall of Fame and Museum, which we have already committed to open in this current financial year. This year will further witness a special edition of the SA Sports Awards as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of this program and retrace the impact which this program has done over the years.
Honorable
in
Minister,
the sport,
your time is up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ilunga elihloniphekile usihlalo wekomiti lezemidlalo umama uDlulane.
Honorable Chairperson, Honorable the Minister and the Deputy Minister, Honorable members of the Sport and Recreation and the members of the Parliament, MECs, DG, Sport Fraternity and distinguished guests. Last year on the 17th of July, during this same budget vote debates, I stood here in front of you, sadly with 2 opening remarks. Firstly, it was the condolences to Mrs. Ntwanambi, the leader of the ANC Women's League. Secondly, it was the expression of our deepest sympathy to the players and management of the Sidibeng netball team who were involved in an accident, if you still recall. This year proved to be a continuation of sad news because we lost a great figure in our political movement and the veteran Ruth Mompati. May her soul repose peacefully. We also lost significant figures in the sport front, the likes of Steve Kalamazo Mukona, John Shoes Museu, Senzo Meiwa, and Richard Yanyekan. Kalamazoo moved to Europe at the time when it was unheard of South African or even for a sub-Saharan football to do so. Kalamukwena's death in hospital in US, thousands of kilometers from his birth of place, Doornfontein, Gauteng, is made more emotional by his wish to have these ashes brought back and scattered over a football ground in South Africa. Honorable Chair, I mention all of this because before the young Mukuna sought shelter outside our borders, boarded a plane for cold, grey, and post-war.
With a lot of problems.
Okay. Excuse me, just hold a thought there. Just hold your thoughts there. And we welcome our viewers right here on SABC News. We thank the ministers who have been presenting their budget votes this afternoon. Minister Faith Mutambi, followed by the Minister of Sports and Recreation, Fikile Mbalula. And indeed, now you are live. This is Question Time you're watching. A reminder that you can call us and air your views on the following numbers: 089-110-4210, 089-110-4210. And the main question really that we are dealing with here is the impact that the colonial era borders have on trade and relations, business or economic relations amongst African countries and African businessmen and women themselves here in the country or on the continent. My guests are Mr. Salman Khan, who is the president of the South African Foreigner Trade Union, and Courage Manguro is ZANU-PF Youth League representative here in South Africa. Gentlemen, welcome once again.
Thank you.
Now, I was trying to say to you here, Courage, that Zimbabwe having so many people who are working both legally and illegally. Perhaps let's just look at the dynamics, of that type of an operation. How are these people affected?
Well, we definitely have those who work, legally. They are working within the environment that everybody else works. They are accorded the same rights as South Africans.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, for those who don't have proper documents or who are not documented at all, are finding it very difficult because the environment itself actually kicks them out of the system. They cannot really enjoy the benefits that are, enjoyed by everybody else who's working, legally.
Yes.
As confiscated by what we see everywhere. I've met people who work here, legally, and I know how they live. The same also with people who work here illegally. I have had this chance of, talking to them, and I've seen that life is very tough for them. They are not actually working in a good environment that, accords them the opportunity to do whatever they want to do.
Yes.
So it is quite paramount for any foreigner, not only Zimbabweans, who have intentions of working in South Africa, to get themselves, properly documented. You see, because South African immigration rules are quite clear and straightforward. They do not segregate against foreigners. No. If a person wants to work in South Africa, they have to follow rules and regulations that are set, and then everything goes well. So it would be a problem if people continue coming to South Africa with this maybe view of finding greener pastures without proper documentation. Yes, hence the introduction of Operation Fiela that has been put in place by the government to ensure that everything goes well. All people who are here, all foreigners who are here in South Africa are here legally. And those who are not here illegally have to be documented.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, hold the thought there. I want us to take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue with our program. This is Question Time. Please don't go away.
information-hungry viewers stay with SABC News, as issues on the West are different from issues on the East or here in Johannesburg. So it is not surprising that people who follow the news know that there are two things for sure: that anything can happen, and SABC News will tell you when it does. Because we keep the nation fully informed. We are SABC News. Catch all these and more every day on Sports Live at 8:30 p.m. on the SABC News Channel.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today, Salman Khan, is the president of the South African United Foreigner Trade Union, and Courage Mangwiro is a Zimbabwean national. Now, gentlemen, welcome back. And let me just remind you that you can give us a call and perhaps your views on the numbers on the screen, 089-110-4210. Let's look at the contribution which foreign nationals are making to the South African economy.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, they are entrepreneurs, they are doctors, engineers, the professionals. So there's a wide variety of the skills, set of skills the foreigners are bringing to the South Africa.
Yes.
And I think one need to understand something very important. That if you look at the biggest or the mega metropolises around the world, they all have been built by the foreigners. Whether it's New York or Milan or Paris, if you look at the New York, it was built by the Irish, Greek and Italian. So, South Africa has to accept that, foreigners are bringing wide variety of the skills, which is highly required in South Africa, one. And secondly, when the foreigners are coming into South Africa, they have a fresh set of eyes and they see everything as an opportunity. That's why you see so many foreigners have succeed into the business world. And also, if you look at the corporate world, there is many companies, those are doing so well. Why? Because they look at the opportunity and they have a different angles to look at it. And from that point of view, I think one need to understand that this variety of skills are coming into South Africa and getting a new, fresh of competition building up. It's only good for the country.
Yes. Now, there have been accusations, that, for instance, let's talk about, your country of origin, Pakistan, where people are saying, yes, we can see that this Pakistanis making it, but can't they share with us in terms of the strategies and tactics of managing these businesses?
Well, I mean, it's happening all the time. But, of course, you have to create the platform. And I think the current MSC is looking at to create the workshop where the people can learn from each other's experiences. And this, what you have just said, has been the sentiment for the many people we are sharing. I mean, I personally run a IT learning center in a Deep Sloot. I have my own cricket team. We're sharing the skill, we're imparting our skills and hobbies into the country. And I think it's just not the platform that we have not been given to showcase. I mean, within my family, we have 17 projects running into the different townships, including the Deep Sloot as well as the Soweto. And we do a hell of a huge amount of the work as a foreigners in the country for the social and welfare. So there is a lot of things has been. Yes.
Okay, let me take John. John, you're in Cape Town. Welcome.
Yes, Mpo.
John.
What I wanted to ask Mpo is I'm also from Zimbabwe. And I really know that the foreigners, they do contribute a lot to South Africa. It's vice versa. Also, South Africans, they appreciate the foreigners being here. But my question was, maybe I was thinking, like you said, the people who don't have documents, some of them, I think some groups also, they will resort to some also dodgy deals because they are not getting the papers. They missed the opportunity in 2010. Is it not maybe better also for the government to also maybe grant people who really want to stay in South Africa another chance to be here, that rather than deporting them, then they will still come back because the economic conditions, they still don't allow them to stay in their own countries again.
Okay. Thank you very much, John. Maybe let me just give you an opportunity to comment on that. He's also saying he's a Zimbabwean, but is there a feeling that South African government perhaps needs to open another window to register or document those that have not, asked for documentation?
Like I said before, Mpo, I don't know where foreigners like me are getting it wrong. It's a very simple process. You are in your country of origin, you get proper documents that are going to enable you to migrate from your own country and immigrate into another country in a procedural manner. You see?
Ubaxholile estratweni, keep it up nakwabanye wenze njalo. I have a specific request for female boxers that they should also be supported and get opportunities to fight. Boxers must be paid on time. They must not waive their rights, Minister, to promoters and come back to politicians when things don't go their way. Inene, inkathazo le, sihle lapha kule committee sifumana ileta ekuseni emini emalanga. Kodwa bane right yabo yokuba mababhatale. When kumnandi kubo becimba but they are doing right thing, baya waiver. But ndimvile ke uminister esithi there is something on the pipeline to amend mayikhawuleze lonto ngoba abafumani into sometimes bangcwaba bengamahlwempu ngoba kaloku bona bathatha izigqibo zokuwaiver izinto ebekufanele bayazifumana. Here in the Western Cape there is a South African bantamweight junior female champ uSharidine Fortune from Strand. Ulapha mama.
You have got 1 minute left. 1 minute.
Ulapha mama andazi ke nokuba kuyacelwa kuwena uba umuntu makasukume. Oh, Minister, this problem of SALGA we've discussed is in our heart as the whole committee. SALGA, you said the reinforcement of 15%. Sometimes MECs, provincial departments, misdirectwa 15% in order that infrastructure ingajongelwa. Cricket South Africa, yesterday you were with us. We were happy about your presentation, your transformation that we are getting there. You are not there. We have said keep it up, and you presented your program 3 weeks ago in the whole committee, and even yesterday.
Liphelile ixesha mama.
Siyabulela, siyayisupporta ibudget yale committee siyi-ANC.
Enkosi. Akbar Bergman.
Madam Chair, Nelson Mandela once said that sports has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire, it has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language that they understand. Sports can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than government in breaking down racial barriers. 21 years down the line, we are still looking at plans for transformation in sports. We have just seen through the strategies of Cricket South Africa and SARU, and they are resorting to quotas. Whilst I believe in transformation and that it's important and vital to the future of our sports in this country, I cannot agree with the intervention that a one-size-fits-all quota approach. We are creating two classes of players, which is counterproductive in trying to bring people into the sports, generate income for the sport, and to be a world-class team. Vernon Philander is a player that should never be associated with the word quota. He is a world-class and an asset to our country. Yet comes a loss at the World Cup and speculation arises that puts an unfair and unfortunate spotlight on a player that deserves our appreciation. Ompile Ramela, a young promising opening batsman, was featured in one of the local publications, and one of his own concerns is that he may not be recognized for his talent, but rather his color. That's not what sports is about. We must not forget what the past did to create barriers and inequality to sports. But we need to look at some of the other criteria that continue to hamper the progress of transformation and participation across all the sporting codes. It is heartbreaking to see schools and community centres that have the remains of what was once a tennis court or a netball court. Multi-purpose courts that are so eroded that kids sustain more injury than pleasure. Funds are often the excuse, but are they the reason? Active Nation is the most expensive part of our budget, and rightfully so is the most important aspect. We hold the ministry to account for getting as many people as possible involved in some form of activity or another. However, this requires more than just our committee, as basic education has just as big a part to play in making this a success. Schools should be responsible for ensuring participation, and we should be responsible for ensuring a satisfactory suite of coaches, skills, and local competition. National Schools Championship should be just as important to us as we place on the Commonwealth Games. There are schools that have, and there are schools that have not. It was mentioned to us in a meeting that if you take a helicopter ride around a city and you fly over schools, you will tell a rugby school from the fact that the school has glass in their windows, school transport, and a playing field. You will then be able to recognize soccer schools by flying over schools that have no glass in their windows, no vehicles, and no playing fields. Speaker, 2 decades down the line, this is not a good story to tell. We need to even the playing fields, and we need to start with the foundation phase. It is no use gerrymandering at the top and running the risk of ruining players, teams, careers, and codes. We need to ensure that this budget delivers to the communities, and we need to hold SALGA and municipalities to account when it does not. We need to nurture the process from school and community level through to club level and up to till professional participation. This is the only way that we will grow interest, grow talent, and grow our competitiveness. Our country is looking for a committee that can lead by example. A committee that can sow hope, reconcile nations, redress the injustices of the past, and deliver on their mandate. We dare not fail.
Honorable Mbata.
Honorable House Chair, our distinguished guests, our fighters at home. Many years ago, in 1988, the National Sports Congress assembled at the Great Hall in Wits University. It charted a way forward for a South Africa of a future. A South Africa where...
Order, honorable members, can we please lessen our voice?
A South Africa where there was going to be one sport, one federation, one community, one nation. Today, 21 years of our democracy, we have the sports budget, or the sports and recreation budget, estimated at 988.5 million. This is one of the departments that were founded in the initial phases of our democracy. You will understand with the growth that is always projected with departments and the vigor to deliver to communities, you will assume that from 1994, the budget of sports and recreation today would have been something else. It would have been something else to a young person in South Africa who only knew a very few things about democracy, who only knew a very few things about the liberation movement and the liberation struggle. This young person will have benefited through his dreams should this government increase the budget to attract and advance the development of our young people. The very same today, you say majority of the budget goes to the active nation programs. In as much as we would love to agree, but the reality is as follows. There is a great divide between a rural and an urban young person. And that definition calls for so many things that are unjust and that resembles apartheid. Majority of our young people today cannot distinguish their suffering from that affected their parents. You have, as it exists today, sport federations who are a law to themselves. You have to entertain, Mr. Minister, racism in sports still. You still have to entertain even the use of facilities, generally even some of them are public, used by what you called private academies, which deliberately continues to discriminate. Our take is that the solution should be as follows. It should have been even in the beginning, that we at least take development to the lowest echelons of our municipalities. We should have provided facilities of excellence in our district to attract fairness and to justify why black youth has to go back to professional sports in their numbers. Because this did not happen, black youth and black young women in particular have become casualties of what you will call a sorry state of affairs in their respective sport codes. Today, we still quote and say they are nowhere to be found. Who will have brought them where? We should have done it ourselves. Today, if you look at what is happening around the country, the sport is not well supported. EFF reject this budget.
Honorable Stolle. Order. Order, honorable members. I am going to name names now if members are not disciplined. Honorable Stolle.
Honorable Chairperson, as the IFP, we support this budget. Mostly because we want to see development of sports academy, sport development in rural areas, township, and especially in schools countrywide. On the face of it, the Department of Sport and Recreation seems to project success with our athletics involved in major sporting events taking place at home and around the world. However, many elements of our local sporting scenes require urgent attention if we want to truly build a nation of athletics who can compete with the best in the world. Enhancing effective participation in sport is one of the driving factors of the department, specifically based on National Sport and Recreation Plan. In order to get communities to fully embrace with the visions, multi-purpose sport facilities are needed, and it is encouraging that the department has allocated funds for this. However, when these funds are not allocated properly due to corrupt practices, it means sport development does not take place, and young athletics are deprived of opportunity to thrive. Decisive measures need to be taken to curb this, and measurable results need to be documented. And communities, in order to show our people that development is truly taking place and the impact of corruption is reduced. The delay in providing facilities also means that in schools that do not have them, learners are deprived access to sports, recreation and physical activities is non-existent. The recent appointment of Danny Jordan as mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay municipality require a board decision from the minister to remove him as the president of the South African Football Association. It does not take the decision to resign himself. Jordan move into the political arena does not bode well for soccer, and it must be allowed to continue to lead it. The lack of transformation is especially concerning, and the minister needs to explain this. Just because we have a black player in predominantly white team does not signify transformation. It must be seen happening even off the field. There is a great need for transformation to take place, specifically with regard to officials of overseas sports federations. Because transformation begins with the leadership structures, the minister cannot claim success if he has failed to bring transformation in how sports are being governed. Minister, ushayela intombi ikuqomile ize ibuye ikwale ungakaboni ukuthi iqomile. One would think that the photograph that the Honorable Minister took with the boxing champion Floyd Mayweather before his most recent fight signifies that boxing South Africa is flourishing, but this far from the case. Boxing sport continue to decline because over the years. Sport continue to decline because over the years supported decrease and even sponsorship is non-existent. It would have been better for the minister to let focus in his attention on how boxing administration and marketing can be improved, as well as helping this very popular sport to receive the proper support within the communities. Because unlike rugby and cricket, the higher one goes with the boxing. The limited the opportunity to excel in it.
Tole,
If this continued committee will end.
is up. Sesiphelile, Njoman. Honorable Mabiga.
Honorable House Chairperson, can I address you, please?
Yes.
It's awfully hot in here, and I just wanted to rise on to ask you to please ask them to put on the aircon, because I don't want members to be caught napping later. It's really hot.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, I know that now it's late afternoon, early evening. So there are possibilities that we may all be tired. Can we allow Honorable Mabika? I will say Honorable Mabika.
Honorable Chairperson, members and distinguished guests. Honorable Minister, i-National Freedom Party ifisa ukuqala ngokuhalalisela uDanny Jordan ngokuqokela kwakhe esikhundleni sokuba umeya eNelson Mandela. But Minister, ngoba wena siyakwethemba ukuthi uyazi ukuthi uCAF no FIFA bami kuphi ngendaba ye-interference epolitiki, sizokunxusa ukuthi advise uJordan ukuthi asishiye isikhundla ukuze usafa wethu uhlale uclean. The budget presented to us on paper seems to be well balanced.
Allow Mabiga to be heard.
If, however, we measure the budget against the stated strategic goals of the department, we sense a measure of over-ambition on the side of the department. The 988.5 million allocated is simply insufficient to meet demands of achieving these proposed strategic goals. And we wonder why this department is undermined like this. Our first point of concern, although not major, is the 12.6% allocation for administration, which in our view is a bit high considering that the bulk of the money available for budget is paid out to provinces and federations to spend, and which the department does not actively have to involve itself. We do note that within the administration allocation, provision is made for a major increase in the proposed expenditure on rental. Whereas the NFP can emphasize with the department on not wanting to occupy premises that are a security risk, it is a fact of life in modern day in South Africa that virtually all premises are potentially a security risk, given violent nature and frequency of crime we are all subjected to. The motivation for alternative premises based on consideration of inadequate parking space and the premises not being properly located is, to put it mildly, absolutely laughable. We cannot see how such considerations could justify an increased projected expenditure of almost 20 million when there are so many other priorities which are not met due to insufficient funding. The 64% of the total budget which is allocated to Active Nation program is welcomed. This program includes school and community sport development, and we believe that the emphasis placed on this allocation by the department is well considered. Our concern, however, remains with monitoring of these funds. We see very little, if any, sport development in our rural areas where a large proportion of our population and children of school-going age live. We see children and adults play soccer on dusty makeshift fields anywhere they can find a patch of grounds that is more or less. Even we see school premises with no sport facilities, not even rudimentary. So we are asking, what is happening to the money which the department is allocating to provinces, federations and clubs? And more importantly, how does the department monitor these allocations? Why are sports councils not seen to be assisting in the club development, especially in rural areas? Sports hubs continue to be rejected. An oversight visit to Limpopo province, for example, revealed that expensive equipment which had been bought and paid for was gathered dust in offices with no apparent plan to distribute
Honorable Mabiga, your time has expired.
Thank you, Chairperson. Uminister uyayithanda boxing sesiyazi, siyacela ukuthi uthando lwakhe lo boxing alubonise ngokuthi enze inguquko kwi boxing la eSouth Africa. Thank you.
Akbare Ajang Minister Woolsteisen.
Thank you, Chairperson, Honourable Minister of Sport, my comrade, Minister Fikile Mbalula. We now know, Honourable Minister, that the EFF is in support of excellence. They pronounced that today very clearly. And we also know that the IFP is of the opinion that you're so powerful, you can just fire a person who's elected president democratically of a federation internationally. So, Mr. Minister, but I think we must agree on one thing, and this is that we are unanimous in our call that the budget of our department has to be increased to address the shortages that we have. We cannot talk about transformation and meaningful change and influencing the future of our children and creating opportunity where the starting line will be the same for all the children in this country if we are not vocal about, unequivocally talking about increasing our budget. The Minister, honourable members, has spoken on some of our priorities for the next year. I will focus on some other work of the department. The recreation programme of our department is in keeping with the vision of an active nation. Our Cabinet declared the first Friday of October each year annual National Recreation Day. Although this is not a public holiday, it provides opportunity to all South Africans to be actively involved by participating in recreation activities that will improve their health and their well-being. A healthy and active citizenry is a key factor in realising the objectives of the National Development Plan. Now, to fully exploit the potential of recreation, the National Recreation Day needs solidarity. It needs joint activities and cross-sectoral initiatives. To this end, Cabinet also approved the establishment of a National Steering Committee. The Steering Committee will put together the concept and programme of action for observing the National Recreation Day and our provincial departments across the 9 provinces will also have programs and awareness campaigns to all stakeholders at the provincial level. The 2014 Health Active Kids South Africa study, which was conducted by the Medical Research Council at the University of Cape Town, produced a scorecard. Now, the scorecard shows that physical inactivity has been described as a global pandemic, with 1 in 3 adults not doing sufficient physical activity to prevent chronic diseases such as heart disease and diabetes. Globally, physical inactivity accounts for more than 5 million deaths annually. Obesity has been shown to affect 500 million people worldwide and is predicted to increase to 1 billion people by the year 2030. In South Africa, nearly half of all adults are insufficiently active. Keeping in mind that South Africa is home to more than 18.5 million children and youth, these are concerning trends for inactivity and obesity. These patterns mirror global trends and have led to the sobering prediction that the children born since the year 2000 might, for the first time in many generations, have a much shorter life expectancy than their parents. Beyond the important preventative health impact of physical activity and eating well, there are the more immediate benefits for children and adolescents on cognitive development and academic performance. There is thus an urgent need for government to take the lead in primary prevention of physical inactivity and obesity in children and youth through effective and supportive policies and programs. Madam Speaker, in the quest to promote lifelong participation in sport and recreation and healthy living, special attention will continue to be placed on packaging messages and programs to make them exuberant, attractive and relevant to the target audience. For this purpose, the new financial year will see innovative and vibrant programs being brought on board, whilst renewed energy will be brought to the existing social cohesion campaigns, such as the Unite campaign, with its annual highlight being the Nelson Mandela Sport and Culture Day, that in partnership with the Department of Arts and Culture, which contributes, Honourable Minister, towards a meaningful social cohesion program in our country. In all our programs, the need of people with disabilities will be addressed. The Big Walk, Honourable Chairperson, will be staged on the first Saturday of October to encourage participation in physical activity.
Madam Chairperson, can I
Order, Honourable Member.
I'm rising to ask if the Minister would tell us what's happening with the Bob van Reden Stadion in Krugersdorp.
Honourable Member, that is not a point of order. You are asking whether the Minister can take a question. Is that what you want?
Honourable Speaker, if I don't lose time and she gives me D8 time, I'll give her a comprehensive answer.
For now, it means no. Proceed, Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, the Big Walk takes place in October to align it with the Association for International Sport for All's World Walking Day. Now, TAFISA encourages and lobbies countries to walk by creating advocacy and awareness during October. As a member of TAFISA, our country, we will embrace this initiative. Only last week, we hosted and celebrated the World Move for Health Day, as was articulated by President Zuma in the 2015 State of the Nation address. We did this in partnership with the Department of Health and the Mfuleni local and Sedibeng district municipalities. We celebrated this day with a day's program of physical activities coupled with awareness and health screening. In collaboration, Speaker, with the Department of Health, the Move for Health Day encourages communities to make physical activity a priority by promoting activities as fun. The day provided a focal point to generate public awareness of the benefits of physical activity and the prevention of non-communicable diseases, assisting us to create a healthy and a very active nation. I want to touch on club development and community sport. Even though an integrated and sustainable club structure is recognized as a prerequisite for the foundation of the South African sports system, there is no accurate picture of which clubs exist and what the membership status are. Many of the club programs that were developed are not sustainable. An audit of the pilot program commenced, and the results will be used to guide the rollout of the program in the future. It's envisaged the program will include conducting an audit of existing clubs. However, both the development of a club toolkit and the application of a club grading system are already complete. The formulation of a basket of services will be offered to the clubs. This approach would see the clubs concluding formal agreements with the provincial department responsible for sport and recreation. A club franchise agreement has been drafted should the franchise club model be adopted following the results of the pilot projects we undertake. 2 provinces, KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo, have been earmarked to continue piloting the system on the basis that they are to identify more than 300 clubs in football, netball and athletics. Through the mass participation grant on the club development, 578 clubs received support in terms of equipment and attire. 107 clubs received support in terms of staging tournaments and leagues, and 3,417 individuals from different sporting codes were trained on club development in sport-specific areas such as technical officiating, administration and coaching. These provinces will need to acquire franchises to ensure sustainability to the supported clubs. Now, Minister, thankfully you have guided us that resources will be made available in the mass participation program and the development grant for the financial year 2015-16 to achieve this noble objective. When it comes to community sport, through various sports promotion campaigns and events that were implemented in the last financial year, thousands of people had access to sport and recreation. The main events were the youth camps, the Golden Games, Big Walk, the Andrew Mhlangeni Golf Development Day and the Nelson Mandela Sport and Culture Day. The latter event alone attracted over 22,000 participants in cycling, running and walking. With regard to our dedication and contribution to honour former President Mandela, 67 minutes of Mandela events were held in Cullinan, Manenberg, Philippian and Paarl. Chairperson Indigenous Games Festival to celebrate the heritage of our country was once again staged in 2014 in all 9 provinces. With regard to the mass participation grant, more than 1 million people actively participated in terms of sport and recreation hubs, events and programs arranged by our provinces. Through the grant, 293 permanent employment opportunities were created because we utilised 6% of the total allocation for each province set aside for the purpose of job creation. A total of 1,756 people who are involved in community sport and hubs were trained. A further total of 468 hubs received equipment and attire as an enabler towards improving access in sport and in recreation. In addressing the priority of rural development, our department will support the Rural Sport Improvement Programme under the guidance of the National House of Traditional Leaders. One of the vehicles to implement this programme is a ministerial outreach programme which continues to enhance the capacity of sport and recreation clubs through the provision of sports equipment and attire for struggling clubs. Honourable members, I now shift to our focus and our vision of a winning nation. We do provide scientific support to all our stakeholders. The focus of the Athlete Residential Support Initiative will be phased out by the end of 2015 as it has been replaced by the Ministerial Sports Bursary Programme. The new approach is focused on setting the agenda for sport in South Africa by supporting the development of our talented learners while they also pursue their education. A talent identification and development strategy is being implemented in conjunction with the holistic academy system. Scientific support to 40 emerging athletes with the potential to compete at high performance level, but who are not yet on the Operation Excellence program of SASCOC, will be provided for. The support will be provided by the National Training Centre in Bloemfontein, as the Minister indicated. That centre prepares national teams and athletes with regard to scientific, medical and sport-specific support. The National Defence Force, the Police Force and the Department of Correctional Services will be approached to investigate the possibility of talented athletes being supported by their respective infrastructure. To this end, the Minister alluded to Operation Victory Lab will be initiated in partnership with the South African Defence Force. Our department will further partner with SASCOC on the rollout of the talent tracking system and to ensure that the athletes who succeed at national competitions are supported to develop into elite athletes. As SASCOC is the implementing agency in this area, our department will ensure that systems are in place from a district to a provincial level to ensure a flow of talent right up to the national level. Chairperson, our country is playing a leading role in projects of global importance as reflected in our contributions to UNESCO, to CEGIPS, United Nations Sport for Development and Peace International Working Group, IADA, and the World Anti-Doping Association, amongst others. I'm also happy to report that mainly due to the major contributions from our country, South Africa was re-elected as the chair of the Sport for Development and Peace Thematic International Working Group, as well as the chair of the Executive Board of Sport for Development and Peace. The inputs from our country also resulted in the development of government policies regarding the harnessing of sport to address gender-based violence from consideration by the United Nations. South Africa also played a major role in the revision of the International Charter of UNESCO on Physical Education, Physical Activity and Sport. This charter puts physical education and physical activity and sport at the service of human development. In another positive development, our country has been selected to serve as a pilot country for the innovative physical education program of UNESCO under the banner Getting the Couch Potatoes Off the Couch. Quality physical education guidelines were developed. The guidelines provide a framework to help policymakers reshape physical education policy as well as practical advice for implementing the various guidelines. The ever-expanding complexity, Chairperson, of doping in sport, like the manufacturing, the importation and the distribution of doping products, requires both new capacities and commitments for both governments and national anti-doping agencies. Our country plans to appeal to UNESCO to announce an International Year of Anti-Doping during 2016 to coincide with the hosting of the Rio Olympic and Paralympic Games. In our efforts to promote the ethical environment and to protect the integrity of our sports system, our department will continue to financially support the South African Institute for Drug-Free Sport to ensure that compliance to the World Anti-Doping Agency Code is adhered to. Particular attention will be given to ensure that SAGE delivers on the responsibility towards WADA and to coordinate the responsibility of SAGE towards the Central Drug Authority. Chairperson, we will engage and ensure that the National Lotteries Board will align all its allocations for sport and recreation to the demands of our National Sport and Recreation Plan. We are steadfast that we want an equal share of the allocation for sport and recreation, and we are not favourable to keep on receiving the master's share of that allocation. In an effort to further recognise our sporting greats, collaborative agreements will continue in the 2015-16 financial year with a view to establish, as the Minister announced, a National Sports Hall of Fame. The recognition system serves, Chairperson, to implement the annual South African Sports Awards, the Andrew Mhlangeni Green Jackets and Ministerial Outstanding Sports Performance Accolades Programme. Honourable Members, we have a long and winding road ahead to traverse. We are comfortable that our plans and budgets are aligned to the National Development Plan. With our National Sport and Recreation Plan steering us as a sector, we will not be sidetracked from our Vision 2030 as articulated by our Minister. We will have considerable work to do to achieve greater support from our corporate sector. We trust that together with them, with their support, we can make South Africa an active and a winning nation and a shining example to the rest of the world. In conclusion, Chairperson, we must use the immense value of sport and recreation to promote social cohesion across society through increased interaction. We are in fact unapologetic in our drive to promote the inclusion of marginalized groups, of women and youth at risk, of rural communities and people with disabilities. In short, we must, Minister, address the imbalances of the past and work towards the environment where the starting line will be the same for all the children in our country. I trust, Honourable Chairperson, that after 21 years of democracy in this wonderful country of ours, we will have unanimous support in this policy directive. Chairperson, I end off by thanking the Minister for Sport and Recreation for his guidance and for his camaraderie and his friendship. Minister, thank you that you are always available to listen and to guide, and that you're not shining away to say what you want to say. To the Director General and the personnel, thank you so much in the Department for steering us and supporting us. Without you, we can't do it. It only demonstrates that working together, we do more.
Your
Amandla.
time is up. Ilungu elihloniphekile, uFiltani.
Honourable Chair, Honourable Minister, Deputy and members, as well as our honoured guests in the gallery. The United Democratic Movement dedicates its support for this budget, particularly to Siya Kolisi, the Western Province and Springbok flank, as well as all the South African gladiators. We support the budget. Sport and partisan politics have always been uncomfortable with each other in South Africa since the old days of Peter Hain in apartheid times. A careful balancing act has to be found by either party in order for equilibrium to be struck. Between the two, there are gladiators, spectators, administrators, sponsors, either potential or actual, because each party is in it for its own selfish purposes. It then becomes necessary that there should be absolute cooperation, otherwise the game suffers. Parliament is to play its oversight role. That is why it is absolutely necessary for our Honourable Minister to be quite regular in attending our committee meetings. Transformation. For this important program to be effective, it is necessary that all parties should understand its purpose politically, socially, and economically. While some of the codes are doing well in this regard, excuse me, others are lagging behind. Of the major codes, Cricket South Africa appears to be dragging itself into this fold. Its transformation targets reflect an institution that is neither poised nor paced for transformation soon. It lacks all the necessary specifics like current status, programs, and dates of achievement. This is just not cricket. Let's play straight ball. SABC has demonstrated its commitment to the committee, although there is still a long way to go to 2019. We hope nothing will be kicked to touch before we reach the try line. South Africa needs to reach a stage of development where some people stop thinking that the inclusion of players of color automatically translates to poor performance. Codes need to have strong development programs that will enable transformation to take place, not on a quota basis, but on capacity. This is where Parliament has to play its oversight role effectively. Often the social elements, so necessary for national social cohesion, are left out of the equation in pursuit of winning. Sponsors of the various codes need to demonstrate an appetite for transformation so that when they say we can give you so many millions of rands, there should be an element of transformation. During apartheid years, it did not matter whether teams lost or won. As long as they were pure white, this has to change. Amongst other important pillars of a successful sporting nation is appropriate sport infrastructure. This requires that we ensure appropriateness of our sporting facilities with serious commitments from local government, public works, as well as cooperation with all other relevant departments like education. Federations and sport departments of education have a serious responsibility to develop human capital. National government and other agencies continue to budget and transfer monies to municipalities for rolling out sports infrastructure. We call on the minister to apply regular monitoring of the use of these resources so that they are able to achieve their intended purpose. Lastly, provinces have not been doing well, Honourable Minister, in this regard in the recent past. They have been failing to spend all the money allocated to them. This is not on. It has to be tackled head on so that we change the situation for the better. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I'm calling upon Honourable Manana.
Sihlalo lo hloniphekile. Nduna le hloniphekile yetemidlalo nekhibika Fikile Mbalula. Lisekela ndvuna lelihloniphekile teletemidlalo nekhibika Gert Oosthuizen. Umcondzisi jikelele wetemidlalo nekhibika Alec Moemi kanye netisebenti letemidlalo nekhibika. Baphathiswa labakhona nato tonke tivakashi letikhona ngiyanibingelela bekunene. I rise on this occasion of the National Liberation Movement, which is the ANC, to support this budget vote on sports and recreation. This budget vote will allocate money to programs that advance the social cohesion and nation building. Once upon a time, in this very same precinct of our history, there was a prime minister by the name of Hendrik Verwoerd. He comes across as a role model to the current of some opposition parties. This is a man we are struggling to remove his legacy. by his own confession, and instead of opting for integration, he opted for what he called separate development. His fears was that integration meant swamping and thus the extinction Afrikaner folk or nation. He convinced the nationalists that the policy of apartheid was ethical and not based on naked racism. The breakthrough for him was being able to convince the some Afrikaner academics of the House, some academic institutions and some federations appearing to be suffering from verwoed hangover today. Sport has undoubtedly demonstrated to be one of the most significant cohesive factors in uniting the entire nation. Sports is further significant part of any nation's culture, leisure time, health, economic and education. And when integrated into broader framework of development, sports constitute an important tool for advancing sustainable development in different sectors of the South African society. Sports does not only teach discipline, but it is an integral component of healthy lifestyle and enables South Africa to share common spaces, developing common loyalties and values through sports. South Africa was systematically segregated under development. The transformation vision for sports in 2030, as articulated in the NDP, is that participation in each sporting code begins to approximate the demographics of the country. For the transformation vision for sports to be realized, the government must ensure that there are adequate facilities for the majority of the population to play sports and that they are equally maintained. The 2013-2014 financial year saw a greater sense of agency, proactive, coordinated engagement with regards to transformation of South African sports, and this continued during 2014-15, and it's well expected to continue in the 2015-2016 financial year. At the heart of the National Sports Recreation Plan, there is Transformation Charter Scorecard. Thus, it's intended to bring the establishment of a competitive, demographically representative sports system. The completion and representative of pilot calculation of transformation status of 5 selected sports codes was an important milestone and stepping stone for sports transformation. Honorable Chairperson, the preliminary multidimensional assessment went beyond the traditional focus on racial represent activity in our national team to include other critical variables such as gender access to infrastructure and participation opportunities, government practice, employment equity and leadership diversity, preferentially procurement, as well as demographic profile of coaches and referees in these codes. Because of the importance of the transformation for the future South African sports, it is imperative that SRSA delivers on this focus area. Internally, capacity must be empowered during 2015-2016 financial year to assist federations to implement the charter and to accurately complete scorecard following the successful pilot transformation audit. Honorable Chairperson, further 16 national federations were subjected to a transformation review to monitor progress with regard, and another transformation barometer will be published detailing the findings of the review. The EPG will name, blame and shame federation of the sports bodies that fail to define and stated targets. To encourage transformation in sports, the department will invest substantially in 2015-2016. The sports support program for sports and recreation body that meets transformation target. Sihlalo lohloniphekile, kude kuphumelele injongo ya 80% yema-federation avelonke. Kumele afeze kuhlelembiswa lokuhlosiwe nga-2020. Litiko kumele liqinisekise ukuthi tinhlelo tekukhibika letisebentako tiyetfulwa emathuba ekungenela temidlalo aniketwe imphakatsi. Tinhlelo temidlalo etikoleni tiyasekelwa. Tinhlelo tekutfutfukisa temidlalo etiveni tiyasekelwa. Tinhlelo tekuhlelembisa tiyetfulwa. Kubuye futhi kube kusiswe kuqiniswe kungena etindzaweni temidlalo nekukhibika kubuye kuniketwe nekwesekelwa kwekuphathwa tebuchwepheshe. In the same breath, one cannot address transformation without addressing the importance of infrastructure development in communities and schools. Facilities to enable access to sports and recreation contribute significantly to transformation within the sector. The NDP states clearly that all schools should develop and maintain infrastructure for at least 2 sports courts. All communities should have access for sports. Every ward should have adequate facilities for basic exercise and sports activities, and that is imperative to improve public services and space, as well as building integrated housing and sports facilities in our community to ensure the sharing of common spaces across the race and class. The department will also work closely with the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Authority, the South African Local Government and Association, and the municipalities to maximize the use of portion of the MIG earmarked for the building of the sports facilities. The development area requires approximately 15 hectares of land, and projected cost of an urban facilities to 250 million and 180 million for rural facilities. SRSA will continue to provide technical assistance to local authorities and other relevant stakeholders for construction and managing sports facilities to ensure compliance with the standards. The NSRP provides for the department to develop a national facilities plan, to establish geographical information system, which is the GIS, to assist the database on facilities on the development of the plan. This will be preceded by a comprehensive count, followed by an audit of all exciting facilities, where facilities will be graded and classified. A facilities plan was drafted in 2013-14. However, this plan needs to be updated after the finalization of the facilities audit. We are therefore recommend the department to fast-track this audit, as this will assist the country and the federation of knowing how many facilities we have. The facilities classification framework was also completed in 2013-14. This framework will assist in classifying facilities into different categories, which will inform the kind of support that should be provided to each. In 2015-16, lobbying municipalities and other stakeholders, including the Department of Human Settlement and Basic Education, as well as SASCOC, for the establishment of sport precincts in each of the 52 districts, cleared by Municipal Demarcation Board if successfully. Municipality will be allowed to pool resources to build facilities catering for outdoor sports.
1 minute left, Honourable Member.
I therefore congratulate the Minister of Sports in his rollout of building sports gymnasium in our rural areas, and recommend that program to be extended to other rural areas. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I'm now calling upon Honourable Nchaisa.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. I nearly went to that podium, but I was advised by someone that I shouldn't go to that side. I thought I was one of the leaders. Thank you very much. Honourable Chair, honourable members, sport and recreation plays a very important role in bringing about the social cohesion. The budget, as it has been alluded to by the Minister, is not enough, but we have got to be a department that is at work. Service delivery has got to take place. People are waiting there. They want service delivery. There are so many challenges in each and every sporting code. You name soccer, rugby, cricket, boxing, and other sporting codes. And these have got to be addressed with the little budget that we have. Let me congratulate Honourable Minister Mbalula, as it has been alluded to, on having received a clean audit You know, a clean audit is not a child's play. It means each and every aspect now has been satisfied. It means now in your department you can do something more with this little budget. So we do congratulate you. There are so many challenges. Some of the challenges now, we see them in cricket. There's inadequate facilities in those areas, in the rural areas. We've got a lot of unacceptable dropouts for the Africans from the cricket. That is a challenge that has got to be addressed. We need stadiums that should be established, more especially in the rural areas, so that our people now, our children, should see that they are really enjoying freedom.
1
We
minute
have
left,
seen now
honourable member.
the insufficient number of African cricketers in high-performance programs. All these have got to be addressed. However, we've got to appreciate now the new model for cricket in schools that is going to take place, or to be rolled out in September 2015. We need to develop a talent now from the bottom, then we set these specific targets so that now we develop these talents, especially now the black people, because they were previously disadvantaged. Honorable Minister, the bursaries and mentors now have got to be there in order to help our children. The municipalities have got to be encouraged now to make use of the MIG, because we have got a problem with these municipalities. The monies that are always allocated to them are never made use of.
I'm afraid the time has expired.
Yeah. In any case, we do support the budget because it has got to support the nation.
Thank you very much, honourable member. I'm now calling upon Honourable Malatsi.
Modulasetulo ke a leboga motlhomphegi wa tša dipapadi maloko ka moka a portfolio committee ya tša dipapadi le meraloko. In the interest of fairness, let me start by congratulating the minister for the sterling work he's doing with professionalizing netball and cricket. Let me also acknowledge the incredible impact of the minister's sports bursary. Children from poor backgrounds the opportunity to play sport at some of the best sports schools in the country. I also want to applaud the Director General and his team for taking the Portfolio Committee's recommendations in introducing a schedule of penalties for provinces that fail to spend their allocations for sports and recreation. Now that we've given credit where it's due, let us look at the budget critically. Our view as the DA is that the current budget and the political leadership of the department is punching way below their weight. At a time when the fiscus is overstretched, government departments and entities must be prudent at all times. Sadly, this is not always the case in this department. The department continues to spend millions on the sports awards while it is underinvesting on sports infrastructure. This is underscored by the fact that the sports infrastructure support program has been allocated only 9.7 million, which equates to 1% of the department's total budget. The sports awards are an extravagant luxury when the minister already has the Minister's Excellence Outreach Program, through which he regularly awards prizes and financial incentives to athletes who rightly excel in different codes. But let us talk about double standards for a moment. The minister was quick to appoint a technical team to compile a report on Bafana Bafana's failures at the African Cup of Nations. Yet he did not extend the same courtesy to the Proteas for their failure to win the Cricket World Cup when it was expected they would do so. The minister was quick to go to Las Vegas in his capacity as Floyd Mayweather's groupie for his fight with Pacquiao. Yet, when two South African boxing champions fought overseas recently in the form of Heki Butler and Solani Tete, the minister did not do so. The minister applauded the Premier Boxing League at its inception, but has failed to intervene to ensure that boxers who have not received their prize monies are paid. Honorable Chairperson, the minister likes to dribble us with big ideas using big words. Regrettably, it is not always big action that follows. Beneath all that glitz and glamour of razzmatazz is the loud noise of an empty vessel. lest we are accused of playing the man rather than playing the ball. Here are the facts. One, the Minister and the Director General have repeatedly made utterances that the sports awards will soon be self-funding. Yet there is no credible plan that has been outlined to this effect. Number two, last year in this very same house, the Minister told us that he was working on a model to advocate, and I quote, for the establishment of a new ticket levy to be imposed on sports tickets. He also made reference to that today. But to date, a year after initially he punted on this, there is no clear indication of its shape or form, no clear assessment of its possible impact on the sale of sports tickets, no input from sports federations on this, and no consultation whatsoever with sports fans who will bear the brunt of this tax if it is introduced. Three, last year in this same house, the Minister said, and I quote again, "We are working to introduce a geographical information system to assist with a database of facilities and the National Facilities Plan." And Honorable Manana indicated that this plan should be fast-tracked. Well, it can't, because just a month ago, the Director General told us in the Portfolio Committee that this was a stillborn because the department has neither the capacity nor the resources, and that the provinces themselves have indicated that they also do not have the resources and the capacity. Honorable Chairperson, boxing in our country is dying a slow death. Back in 2011, in September, the Minister said, and I remind him of his words again, "We want to bring back the glory of boxing through a decisive commitment to strong leadership and quality management." However, I would argue, Chairperson, that it is under the Minister's leadership that many of the ills that are holding back boxing have become chronic. To be fair, some of them predate him. But your own blunders, Honorable Minister, are killing the sport of boxing. Before the Minister accuses me of hitting below the belt, here are some of his blunders. One, it was the Minister that approved the recommendation of the appointment of a convicted thief with a mediocre record in management and leadership as the CEO of Boxing South Africa in 2011. How does this relate to now? It does, because Moffat Qiti has been a liability to boxing since his appointment. He has cost the department approximately 10 million in court cases as a direct result of the defamation utterances and mismanagement of boxing. However, despite the fact that he was suspended in 2013, and rightfully so, the Minister, the department, and Boxing South Africa all found it in their wisdom, or lack thereof, to give Mr. Qiti over 200,000 in bonuses for the last 2 financial years, including last year, where he spent the entire year at home. Number 4, the appointment of Loyiso Mja as acting CEO, who oversaw the failure of Boxing South Africa to pay 7.5 million.
Can you hold on, Honorable Member? Is that a point of order, Honorable Member?
Yes, please. Is it parliamentary to punch so hard?
That is not a point of order, Honorable Member.
In football, we call that time-wasting tactics, but it will not work. Number 4, the appointment of Loyiso Mja as an acting CEO who oversaw the failure of Boxing South Africa to pay 7.5 million in taxes, which was deducted from boxers but never paid to SARS. He was subsequently suspended. Just before they make the ruling on his suspension, he left. And now he is in boxing, being a trainer to one of South Africa's aspiring positions. He does not deserve to play any role in boxing. So we will never bring back the glory of boxing for as long as Boxing South Africa does not have a full-time competent CEO. For as long as it fails to act decisively against dodgy promoters who fail to pay purse monies on time and prize monies. Chairperson, allow me to pay tribute to Portia Modise for her immense contribution to Banyana Banyana. She was not just a great female footballer. She was an incredibly great footballer and an activist for better conditions for women in football. Sadly, the boardrooms of sports federations are palaces of patriarchy where the best interests of women are overlooked. It is shocking that our national hockey team, who have consistently qualified for the Olympics, are not paid match fees for playing for the country. Rather than they are given stipends to be in camp. It is also disgusting that the country's best performing national football team for some time, in the name of Banyana Banyana, are paid just 5,000 per match, while their male counterparts earn up to 60,000 for a win. Many of these female sports stars have to find full-time jobs, then take unpaid leave to pay for the national team where they are paid peanuts. We must reject any justification and defense of the status quo which insists that female athletes must be paid less by our national sports team simply because they are women. We must dismantle barriers to gender equality in sport with everything in our power. We must do so because it is the right thing to do.
1 minute left,
It is
honourable
for
member.
this reason that the DA has approached the Commission for Gender Equality to tackle unequal match fees for Banyana Banyana and the hockey team. But we are not a party of opposing for the sake of it. We have solutions. So our immediate solutions are: 1, appoint a competent CEO for Boxing South Africa, establish professional female leagues for football, cricket and rugby, and immediately intervene to improve the match fees of Banyana Banyana and the Proteas and the Box. 3, make it compulsory for all federations to cover medical insurance of all national team players at all times. Build strong synergy with the Department of Human Settlements and local municipalities to ensure that when new communities are established, sports facilities are built, optimizing the urban settlement development grant. The minister likes to host a series of events from time to time. Those can often distract us from scrutiny of this department. But from one former spin doctor to your spin doctors, Honourable Minister,
Honourable
you
member,
can spin some people
sorry,
some
your
of the time,
has
or even
expired.
spin some people all of the time,
Honourable
but
member,
you can never
your
spin
time has
all of the
expired.
people all of the time.
Thank you, honourable member. I'm now calling upon Honourable Ralechuma. Order members, can you give the member an opportunity to debate? Order members. Order members, can we give the member
Thank
opportunity
you,
to
Honourable House Chairperson, Honourable Minister and other ministers present, Honourable Deputy Minister and other Deputy Ministers present, Honourable members, the Director General, leadership of Sports South Africa, and the teams that are present, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to participate in the budget debate on sport and recreation. I must say from the onset that the ANC has given leadership on this field during the struggle against apartheid up to the readmission of South Africa into the international fold. As we speak, South Africa is part of the international sporting fraternity and competing as equals with other countries. These credentials of the ANC continue to give hope to millions of young South Africans that they will one day represent South Africa internationally. And no amount of propaganda is going to erase this fact. Our approach as the ANC is informed by the National Development Plan, which is our long-term plan, and the government medium-term strategic framework, which have now been aligned. We are satisfied that the budget has been allocated to the priorities as per the manifesto and the 53rd ANC conference resolutions on sport and recreation, and hence our support to the budget vote 40. Engaging in sport and recreation gives us possibilities to promote community development, social cohesion, possibilities to combat xenophobia, like the recent campaign by SAFA and PSL, and also play a critical role in sharpening the minds of children in schools. In the past 21 years, the ANC government has made significant strides in the development and transformation of all sporting codes in the country, including making physical education a standalone and compulsory subject in schools, and that more sporting infrastructure has been built, particularly in disadvantaged areas and rural areas. While we have made life better for more people in the last 20 years, there is no doubt that the apartheid legacy still remains deep and we won't agree with the opposition that the playing field are now level. Our view is that school sport is taking shape, and that is confirmed by the attendance, which vary between 9,000 and 13,000 of participants taking part for 5 days every year. This for us is value for money. Like what the chairperson has said, we need to increase our oversight work in order to speed up service delivery. With regards to MIG funding and provincial funding, we can only say it is not enough if we are going to ensure that we interact with NCOP as well as all the municipalities. With regards to Boxing SA, we will pay particular attention to their current challenges, and we are of the view that the assistance given by the department is correct and supported, as we do not want to see the demise of boxing in our watch. In conclusion, we congratulate the department for continually receiving clean audits. As the ANC, we are not going to be forced to become populist by either the DA or the EFF. Our approach on transformation is that of ensuring that we engage the sporting bodies that are responsible in provinces and in the federations. The issue of becoming populist in approach is not going to assist us with regard to transformation. From where we are sitting, we are happy that the department, through its assistance by the EPG, that will end up seeing improved progress, because the approach now is going to be from bottom up, rather like just imposing on quotas. But it is important for the House and the public to know that the ANC will all the time emphasize the issue of quotas, because it's in our own resolutions. It is important that we should clarify as well the point that was made by Honorable Filtani, that the minister does not attend portfolio committee meetings. The minister is not the member of the portfolio committee. The minister attends as per the invitation by the chairperson and the committee. And we have discussed this issue in the House. So it surprises us that Honorable Filtan will, from time to time, when he sees the media, will then do a grandstanding.
Can you hold on, Honorable Member? Is that a point of order? Are you rising on a point of order, Honorable Member?
Thank you.
Are you rising on a point of order?
Yes, I am.
What's the point of order?
Point of order is, would he, Honorable Ralechoma, is he prepared to take a question to tell us when the minister accounts to the committee? That's my question.
That's not a point of order. That
No, we
is not
don't have
a
time.
point of order. That's not a point of order. Continue, Honorable.
The issue of sports awards, from where we are sitting, we think there is a need to incentivize sports people. And if we want accountability in terms of the funds that are utilized, we need to ask those questions openly. We must not ask those questions and come here and do grandstanding. And I'm surprised that Honorable Malachi will come here deliberately, try to push us that we should compare SAFA and Cricket SA, and want to push the minister that is applying double standard. Double standard
Point of order,
is...
A minute. Honorable Member, what point of order are you raising?
I'm more than happy to take as much as I gave, but the Honorable Member is misleading the House on what I said.
What's the point of order, Honorable?
He's misleading the House.
It's not a point of
You don't
order,
know what I'm
Honorable
going to
Member.
say.
It's not a point of order.
How do you know what I'm going to say? He's misleading the House. Can I explain how?
Point of
No,
order, Chair.
Honorable Member. You
Point
stand
of order.
up on a
Point
point
of order, Chairperson.
You just say what the point of order is and not explain. You just stand up on a point of order and not begin to explain. Thank you
On a
very
point
much.
of order,
Can you
Chairperson.
continue?
On a point of order, Chairperson.
Honorable,
I think we must agree the member is misleading the House by making a point of order when it is not.
Honorable Member, can you please? That's not a point of order. Carry on, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Malachi is the one that is applying double standards. He's applying double standards because we discussed the issue of the ticket levy, and the basis of the discussions around ticket levies was on the possibility of the introduction
Point of order, Chair.
Honorable, can you hold on, Honorable Member? Yes, Honorable Member.
Is Honorable Member prepared to take your question?
Are you prepared to take
Wanted
the
to
question?
find out what
No.
happened to Alexander's sporting
The
coach.
Honorable Member.
No, we are not.
Honorable members.
We are not surprised.
Honorable
really,
members, I'm
We are
really
not
calling
surprised
upon you not to abuse points
by
of
this
order.
development.
Please don't do this.
We are used to it, and I want to just repeat what I said earlier. The apartheid legacy runs deep. And I'm disappointed that DA will come here and pretend that there are no problems. After 21 years, all of a sudden, the playing fields are level. It is not true. It is not true. And even their charter gives an impression that everything is equal. And it is not true, because the legacy created by apartheid runs deep. And there is no way that we'll sort out all the problems. But besides that, you must understand that the approach of the ANC is not just looking at sport. It is also ensuring that, and it is the only country that does that has given people houses. It has got the best social welfare program that you can only get in the ANC. And that is why, at all the time, there is no way that we'll be in a position to can do what the apartheid has created over donkey years in 20 years. We will take up Honorable Malachi in the committee, because it is really disappointing that you'll come here and accuse officials that are sitting on the gallery, officials that cannot come here and answer for themselves. So we'll take this matter up in the committee with the Honorable Malachi. As the ANC, we are confident that we still have
1 minute left, Honorable Member.
As the ANC, we are confident that we remain the champion of the people, and our people there have got confidence in us. And there is no way that we are going to end up taking stands that are similar to the EFF. There is no way that we are going to take the stands that are shown by the DA. We are going to remain steadfast in terms of ensuring that we engage all key stakeholders in transforming sport in South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Before I call upon the Minister, I'm calling upon Honourable Carter.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Okay. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. The first...
How can Honourable Carter come after I've spoken? Who was consulted?
Honourable Member, Honourable Carter was not in at the time, and I'm giving her the opportunity.
It can't be our problem. You can't put it after I've spoken.
Honourable members, Honourable Carter was not here while he was called, while his term came. And now I'm giving her an opportunity to debate in the matter.
Honourable Chairperson, just to assist, we did make arrangements before the time because I was debating in the National Assembly as well. The first question that the Congress of the People wishes to pose to the Minister. The first question that the Congress of the People wishes to pose to the Minister is whether South Africa has shrunk to 5 provinces, as Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Northwest and Northern Cape do not feature in major sport codes. Where are they? The Eastern Cape is half in and half out. After 21 years, surely all 9 provinces should have looked like equals. What has the Minister done to achieve provincial equity in sport? COPE also wants to know whether our many beautiful stadiums are destined to become white elephants. A remodeling should take place to make stadiums affordable to communities. Each province with unused or underutilized stadiums should organize provincial and interprovincial games to keep them operational. There is a discernible lack of leadership, absence of entrepreneurial capacity, and a failure of coordination. Nelson Mandela would have ensured that cities were using every stadium optimally in order to achieve social, sporting, and economic goals. COPE believes that the Minister must convene the National Summit to find creative ways and feasible ways to enable schools, communities and sports federations to use our stadiums to the fullest. Unused, they constitute a dead burden. Seeking to have no burden is no solution. When we watch a European team play, Barcelona for example, we find as many as 82,000 spectators packing themselves into the stadium. Why are they succeeding and we are not? We still have, much to our shame, segregation in our spectator composition. After 21 years, we are still marching on the spot. COPE urges the Minister to show real leadership, Mandela style, with Mandela gravitas. The potential of sport for social cohesion, nation building and quality of life is enormous. We should not gather on important national days to hear politicians speak. Instead, we should heed the lesson of ancient Greece and make such days big and attractive sporting events. Action, not words, will forge the bonds of nationhood. Well before any important day in the calendar, the Minister and his team of premiers, mayors and officials should approach community leaders to come out in full force so that we achieve a demographically acceptable representation of spectators. We have lost 21 valuable years. We want goals in the nets. Dribbling and not scoring is neither attractive nor gratifying. The use of quotas is an intrusive instrument. Proactive scouting for talent and sending young players to a regional sports academy to hone their skills will address the demographic representation in major sports in an organic and natural way.
1 minute
National
left,
teams must play shadow national teams so that a larger pool of players has experience playing at top level. We are not doing this. Some very talented South African players, therefore, leave our shores to make a great name for themselves in other countries like England, New Zealand, Australia, because they had no openings here. A public broadcaster must also come to the party. COPE also urges the Minister to gather support for an SADC or Southern African Sports Umbrella Organisation. Bring the media on board and then you will see how sport will actually flourish. Honourable Minister, why don't we bring South Africa to the world stage of a motocross Grand Prix World Championship? We can reach 1.3 billion spectators in 180 nations. 50 to 60,000 on-site spectators. We can create tourism. We can create jobs. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. I'm now calling upon the Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. It is difficult to debate with honourable members who interact with sports issues for the first time in this debate. Yes. But I forgive them because to be in Parliament, it means numbers. So it particularly means that you don't have sufficient numbers to serve in every committee. So I forgive your ignorance because at the end of the day, we deal with issues from newspaper clippings and not from the fundamental engagement with the department over a period of time. Amen. The second issue, Honourable Chair, which has been raised here about double standards by Honourable Malati. It does not surprise me that he chooses to raise frivolous issues which are not fundamental when it comes to sports development and transformation. In fact, in everything he has said, he never uttered the word development or transformation. He basically chose very niceties and elevated them as though they are fundamental issues with regard to sport. They are not double standards. Cricket does not need any evaluation from what it has achieved. The boys have done well. And the cricket is well consolidated and on a path of winning as a nation. With regard to football, Shakes is on a journey of rebuilding the national team. They need all our support. They have graduated from losers to winners. And that is what we need for a nation. And that is why we have spent time to support the national team, in particular with regard to the scientific support and evaluation of its performance in Guinea Equatorial. And our boys are well on track in terms of their achievement. You are raising an issue about the sports levy, which you distort again. Sports levy is a generated policy, which must actually be a policy that must reach out to stakeholders and must be agreed by Treasury and endorsed by Cabinet. It is something that we proposed from sport. Again, you distort. Because once we talked about the model for funding for sport, and this is what is important, because sport largely depend on corporate, but at the same time depend on government in terms of funding. And if we look at funding model for sport, part of the things that we need to do, which other countries have done, is to introduce ticket levy. And ticket levy does not mean increase on the price that everybody attend a soccer match or a rugby match. Already what you pay, part of it will be allocated to sport, which is not happening in South Africa today. You can imagine how many millions go through tickets and nothing is allocated for development. And that is what we are calling for when it comes to the question of the ticket levy. When it comes to boxing, I was elaborate, unless if you had put something in your ears and you did not deliberately not listen to what I was saying. First, I talked about 10 million allocation to the development of Sanabo. The question of the Premier League of Boxing is a private initiative by Dixie, which we endorsed, because it intervenes in terms of ensuring that boxers who are not actually participating, just like the Premier League of Cricket in India, is actually intervening. So government and even the private sector can participate in that. But that is not our initiative. I never proposed a boxing Premier League as you put it across. It is something that was proposed, and I vowed to support it. And I'm going to support it. But my priority as government is not to drive private initiative, is to invest in development. Hence, I am going to invest 10 million on the development of Sanabo in order to produce athletes who will go and compete in the Olympics and bring back medals. And that is what I'm doing. And that is what I'm doing together with the Department of Defense Force to introduce Operation Victory Lab. And this is what I've learned from India and all other countries who have involved Defense Force in the development of sport. And this is what I'm doing. Moffat Kriti was not employed by me. He, in fact, did not disclose all his credentials to the board. And once everything was found about him, he was suspended. This country is a constitutional state. People go to the labor court and at the same time fight for their rights. You know that it is not my call. If I wanted to, which I will not say it now, he should have long gone. But the fact of the matter is that it is that board that have actually done an injustice on us. Now you come
Honourable
here
Minister,
and grandstand.
Your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
Saved by the bell.
That concludes the debate and the business of this extended public committee. The committee will now rise.
She's not